Welcome to Health Horizon. I'm Dr. Eiric Berg. Let's dive into why incorporating 3 to 4 eggs into your daily routine is such a smart move. I want to be clear up front, I'm not fanatical about eggs, but they are something I make sure to eat every single day. Before we get started, I need to address something important: the cholesterol myth. If you've been holding back on eggs because you're worried about cholesterol, I'm going to ask you to completely let go of that concern. The truth is, eggs have never been shown to cause cholesterol issues in any meaningful way. That whole narrative was based on misinformation and outdated science. I've included some current research links in the description below if you need additional reassurance on this point. What makes eggs unique now? Let's get into the really interesting part. What makes eggs so remarkably different from other protein sources like meat or fish? Here's the key distinction. When you eat animal-based proteins like beef, chicken, or fish, you're consuming muscle tissue. Muscle tissue has a specific job: it contracts, relaxes, and creates movement, but an egg is fundamentally different. It's designed to develop into an entire chicken. That difference matters more than you might think. Let me break down the protein quality first. Eggs have what we call the highest biological value when it comes to protein. What does that actually mean? It refers to how well your body can absorb and utilize that protein in your tissues. In terms of absorption efficiency, eggs are literally at the top of the chart. The second thing to understand about protein is its purpose. Most people think of protein primarily for building muscle, and yes, it does help build muscles, tendons, ligaments, and joints. It's also crucial for repair work, since your body is constantly rebuilding and maintaining these protein structures. But protein serves other vital functions too. It's needed to create hormones and enzymes that drive your body's biochemical processes. And here's something interesting: protein can actually be converted into fuel for your body. Now let's compare regular meat protein to egg protein when it comes to energy. When you eat animal muscle meat or fish, just the lean muscle portion, only about 10 to 20% of that protein can actually be converted into fuel for your body. If you're eating a fatty cut of meat, sure, you can use that fat for energy, but I'm specifically talking about the protein component here. At most, you're looking at 20% fuel conversion. What about eggs? Eggs contain the yolk, which is rich in fat that your body can readily use as fuel. When you look at the whole egg together, approximately 65% of it can be utilized as energy. This is particularly relevant for people who tend to eat very lean meats. They won't be able to extract as much usable energy. There are documented cases of people who survived only on rabbit meat, which is extremely lean, and they became severely ill. Some even died because of the fuel deficit. You simply cannot sustain yourself on 100% protein alone, so eggs have a significant advantage over other protein sources in this regard. You could theoretically live entirely on eggs for an extended period and maintain good health, but there's even more to the story. Protective compounds in eggs. Eggs contain additional components that regular meat doesn't have. They're packed with protective elements. What do I mean by that? Well, eggs contain various antimicrobial proteins, primarily in the white portion. What does antimicrobial mean? These are substances that can actively destroy bacteria. The egg white also contains compounds that can bind to iron and also bind to vitamin B7, which you probably know as biotin. You may have heard that consuming raw egg whites can actually deplete your biotin levels. Bodybuilders used to make protein shakes with multiple raw eggs and drink them, and some developed biotin deficiencies as a result. However, when you heat and cook the egg white, this binding compound is neutralized, so cooked eggs won't deplete your biotin. But here is the fascinating part. The reason this compound exists in eggs in the first place is as a defense mechanism. Certain harmful pathogens require biotin to survive. By locking up the biotin, the egg can eliminate these dangerous bacteria. It's yet another protective feature built into eggs: essential nutrients in eggs. Eggs also contain all of the essential amino acids your body needs, including leucine, which is the critical amino acid for muscle building. Additionally, eggs are the second richest source of choline, a B vitamin. Choline plays a crucial role in preventing fatty liver disease. It's also a component of bile, which helps your body digest fats. And for people who have certain genetic variations, choline is particularly beneficial because it helps repair damaged DNA. let me introduce you to a term you might not be familiar with: methylation. This is essentially a process in your body that supports DNA repair, helps with detoxification, and aids in producing neurotransmitters. I'm bringing this up because many people have genetic variations that affect this process. These individuals can run into problems if they don't get adequate choline, natural B12 which eggs contain, and folate also found in eggs. In other words, people with these genetic issues will really benefit from the choline in eggs. As it happens, based on my own genetic testing, I discovered I have difficulty absorbing choline efficiently. This is one reason why eggs are especially beneficial for me personally. Eggs also contain two incredibly powerful antioxidants, lutein and zeaxanthin. These compounds concentrate in your eye's retina, where they provide natural protection against both ultraviolet rays and blue light, which can damage eye tissue. Picture the eyeball. If you open it up and look at the back portion, you'll find the retina, which is actually an extension of brain tissue. The retina contains specialized cells that capture visual information and transmit it to your brain. We need very high concentrations of lutein and zeaxanthin to protect these cells and to maintain the ability to see in low light conditions. These nutrients are extremely important, and eggs provide them abundantly. But the benefits aren't limited to the retina. These compounds also support other brain functions, including concentration, memory, and learning ability. What else do eggs offer? They contain fascinating molecules called phospholipids. I don't want to overwhelm you with technical terminology, but these are substances that support the cell membranes in your brain and other tissues, helping you maintain excellent cognitive function. There's also a component in eggs that works similarly to an ACE inhibitor medication, which helps lower blood pressure. Eggs provide vitamin K2, which is responsible for transporting calcium and keeping it out of soft tissues like joints, kidneys, and arteries, while directing that calcium into your teeth and bones where it belongs. Eggs also contain the active form of vitamin A called retinol. This isn't just important for eye health, it's crucial. For your skin, the mucous membranes lining your sinuses, lungs, and digestive tract, vitamin A is also essential for proper immune system function. And eggs contain vitamin D as well. Choosing the right eggs now before you decide that eggs are a great addition to your diet and start eating lots of them, we should discuss what type of eggs to buy. You have conventional eggs, and it's worth noting that 65% of all eggs consumed come from caged hens. What does caged actually mean? It means that chicken spent its entire life confined to an extremely small space, roughly 8 inches by 8 inches. This confinement raises the bird's stress hormone cortisol significantly. You don't want to support that system, and I would avoid purchasing caged eggs. Cage-free gives the chickens a bit more room, about 2 square feet. That's somewhat better. They may or may not have access to outdoor areas beyond the barn, but they're typically housed in very large industrial facilities with many other chickens. It's still not ideal. Pasture-raised is significantly better. These chickens get at least 108 square feet of outdoor space per bird. This is what I would choose, or even better, find a local farmer at a farmer's market to buy eggs from directly. That's going to be superior. Of course, if you can keep your own chickens like I do, that would be the ultimate option. You should also know that conventional eggs are often enhanced with artificial colorings. Think about it, the color of an egg yolk should reflect the amount of natural carotenoids present, but in conventional eggs, it's artificially manipulated. What about organic eggs? The organic label doesn't tell you whether the chickens were caged or not. It simply means the feed they received, typically grains, was grown without synthetic pesticides, insecticides, herbicides, and fungicides. That's definitely an improvement. If you can find organic pasture-raised eggs, that would be excellent. This means the chickens weren't fed GMO grain-based feed and the grains weren't sprayed with glyphosate. However, there are some loopholes here, particularly with wheat-based feed, because it can be sprayed with glyphosate and still be labeled non-GMO, and don't be overly impressed when you see vegetarian feed on the label. Vegetarian feed compared to what exactly? I feed my own chickens a diverse diet. They absolutely love cheese, for instance. They'll eat many different foods. And if I offer them a choice between grains and protein, they'll go straight for the protein source, including meat. Chickens evolved to eat insects and similar foods, not primarily grains, and certainly not GMO corn and soy. In other words, conventional chickens that are fed large amounts of corn and soy, which are typically genetically modified, produce eggs with elevated omega-6 fatty acid levels, which are more inflammatory. There are eggs available that are specifically enriched with omega-3 fatty acids. Actually, I'm currently running an experiment with my own chickens, feeding them a grain blend that's much higher in omega-3 than omega-6. Stay tuned for those results. Combining eggs with other foods. Now let me give you some practical tips on what to combine with your eggs. Here are some things to consider. When you eat eggs alongside an arugula salad, you'll increase the absorption of phytonutrients from the arugula by 9 times. This is because of the fat in the egg yolk. Many of the beneficial plant compounds in greens and salads are fat-soluble, so they need fat to be properly absorbed. This makes it an excellent combination for optimizing your health. I personally eat a lot of onions with my eggs, usually. This enhances your body's detoxification pathways. When you add black pepper to your eggs, which I always do along with sea salt, you increase the absorption of carotenoids. Try not to overcook your eggs. I know this can be challenging when you are eating out at a restaurant for breakfast. They tend to overcook them. I prefer my eggs cooked over easy with a runny yolk, or if I'm making scrambled eggs, just cooked until done but not overcooked. It's a small detail, but you'll retain more nutrients if you don't overdo the cooking. Adding tomatoes to your eggs is beneficial, especially when they're in season. I do this throughout the entire summer when I have access to delicious fresh tomatoes, every single day during that time. Tomatoes contain many beneficial compounds, but at the top of the list is lycopene. This is arguably one of the most powerful antioxidants, or carotenoids, you can consume. It's excellent for your arterial health, prostate health, eye health, and brain health. But let me make an important point here. If higher quality eggs are too expensive for your budget right now, and you can only afford conventional eggs, go ahead and buy them anyway. There is enough nutritional value in conventional eggs that they are still far superior to many other conventional protein sources you will find, which often combine proteins with added sugars and starches. Even conventional eggs will benefit your health. Another food I add is avocado. The fats in avocados are incredibly healthy. And because you're eating the whole avocado, you're getting fresh, raw oils and fatty acids that are exceptionally beneficial. Unfortunately, most bottled avocado oil is refined, heated, and oxidized unless you purchase cold-pressed varieties. And even then, the regulations governing avocado oil are currently very loose, so you really need to verify the source of any avocado oil you buy. When you cook your eggs, I recommend using either olive oil or butter. You do need to be cautious whenever you heat any oil, but because olive oil is loaded with protective phytonutrients, and as long as you don't overheat it, I think you'll be perfectly fine using it. Now, I hope I've persuaded you to include eggs in at least one of your daily meals, but the question becomes, what type of protein should you eat for your other meals? For that information, you should check out this next video.